Hello, how are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you doing?
Good, not too bad. It's quite a nice day here for once, so enjoying the
Yeah.
rays through my window. Yeah.
Awesome. It's been raining quite a bit here in Atlanta as well.
Yeah.
Elle, you guys are going to love her. First of all, she's got an amazing brand. I can't wait for you all to learn more about her. So, hey, let's get right into it. Elle, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, where you are currently, and just what you do?
Sure. So I'm Elle. I don't know if anyone can tell by the accent, but I'm from Birmingham, UK. I'm 27. Um, Spent a little bit of time in London as well. Recently moved back after graduating from St. Martin's. I studied fashion and marketing, and that kind of was the birthplace for everything that I do now, in a nutshell.
So, you define yourself as a stylist, or how do you define yourself?
I like to say a general creative, just because I have like so many things going on at once and so many projects that kind of bringing it all into a stylist is a general idea, but there's just so much going on with it, especially alongside the business. So I like to say creative, general creative.
I'm with you. I'm with you. Same here.
Yeah.
Being a stylist is, I mean, you may just be on set and that's that one job, but if you do, with all that you do, you're definitely a creative, a serious curator too. I'm really excited to jump into that. So let's talk about a little bit, what got you into fashion to begin with? Like, what was that moment that just sparked your interest in fashion?
Oh, this is quite a slightly different topic. But when I was younger, we struggled quite a bit, and fashion was something that was kind of at the lowest point of the priority list. It wasn't something that we really focused on in my family. And my mum as well, she's a builder, for instance. So she's always kind of been like really rugged and getting her hands dirty, that kind of thing. But I think when I realised that fashion was for me, and what kind of led into the whole kind of vintage element of my business, was actually hand me downs. So I would get kind of like a few black bags of clothes every few months from like cousins, friends, all that kind of stuff. And I was always really small. I was always tiny, like my whole life. So these hand me downs would never fit me. So I had to learn to sew very quickly. Started altering things, kind of making them my own. And then because I used to draw a lot, the whole creative aspect of making something for me, even though it was someone else's, that kind of like sparked something in me to think, quite good at this, might carry it on. Yeah.
That's cool. We actually had that in common. It was a very similar thing that sparked for me. Like it was my family would just say, like, they took us shopping, they're like, hey, like, mix and match. You can't get everything here. So
Yeah.
whatever you do get, learn how to make it work, basically. And
Yeah.
hand-me-downs for my sister, good Lord. There's so many funny stories about that. That's a different
Yeah.
conversation. But those hand-me-downs like that, you learning how to be resourceful and and that taught you how to sew. That's amazing. And I'm also pretty tiny too. We have that in common.
Yeah.
You're pretty
It's
petite.
always a problem.
Yeah, yes, always. um,
Yeah.
so from there, so that sparked it for you. Whenever you became a little older, what made you decide I'm going to go and study this in school?
Yeah, it was quite a tricky one for me in school. I was always very academic, tried really hard in school, ended up doing really, really well. Thought that I would kind of lean towards the sciences. They really interested me. And then when I saw a new fashion design course that was starting in Birmingham, because Birmingham, for those who don't know, it is the second city, but when it comes to like creativity and fashion, there's not a lot here. Everyone tends to move to London. So this new course was starting and I was very, very interested in it, but all my teachers were trying to persuade me to go elsewhere. And, you know, the money's not in fashion, the career's not in fashion. So when it come to actually making a decision, it was like, do I go with my heart or my head? And yeah, I ended up going to the fashion course, but it was actually quite delayed. So I started in A levels in literature, sociology, science, was there for about 3 weeks and changed my mind. I was like, no, my heart is just not in this. Luckily got accepted onto the course, even though I was a bit late. And then I just had, honestly, the best teachers there, the best mentors, tutors. And that's kind of where I really grew while I was at college. If I could go back and do college 10 times over for the rest of my life, I probably would. It was amazing.
Oh, I love that. So I know you were saying how your teachers were kind of gearing you toward, you know, going another direction, toward the sciences. Was your family the same way?
My family kind of always, whatever it is that I want to do, they support me. And I think one thing that my parents kind of knew and my family knew and friends around me is what actually makes me happy. I think I'm the kind of person, if I'm not happy, you can tell. So it was kind of a thing where we know you can do it. As long as you're happy doing it, do what makes you happy, and the money and the career will come with it. And I'm so glad I ended up going. I don't know where I would be if I chose the other road right now.
Hey, like you're thriving. And like I love that, you know, this paying attention to what you know is the right direction versus what people may tell you. Yeah. And no one's going to know for sure, you know, for you, what is the best route. You know, people they tend to advise you based on their own fears or their own inhibitions about something. So it's definitely a good thing you did listen to them.
I know, right?
And we wouldn't be meeting right now, probably. How'd you listen to them?
Oh gosh, I don't even want to picture that life, but yeah, I'm here now. It's good.
Yeah, it's good. I'm glad you're here. So I'm kind of jumping ahead here, but going from having the hand-me-downs and learning to sew, this, I guess, is kind of an obvious question, but did this lead to your vintage business? Is that where the love for vintage pieces sparked from?
So my mum, she's a little bit of, how do I describe it? Here we call her Del Boy. So like Only Fools and Horses, British show. So she like does gardening, building, loves antiques, and I think her love of antiques like developed into my love of vintage. And she used to take me to like auctions and things, and I would see like vintage wedding dresses and all that kind of stuff, a lot of car boot sales all the time, and just seeing how you can rework old trends into like new trends. And that was something that kind of grew in college. So like when I was going out partying or anything like that, I'd hate someone to have the same thing on as me, like absolutely that is, oh my gosh, I'm leaving kind of situation. And then I had a thing for jumpsuits, 70s jumpsuits. So I used to wear them out a lot and used to get asked like so many times, where's that from? Where did you get that from? And then I was like, it's my secret. But then I kind of realized, hang on a second. That kind of sparked it. And then while I was at university, studying marketing and fashion, I kind of realized that the intricacy of things like pattern cutting and those kind of things, the maths, me and maths are not friends. And it was kind of like sucking out the love I had for what I started. But then me styling myself and trying to find pieces for myself is where I really found the joy. So I kind of steered away from the kind of design aspect and moved in towards kind of reworking, styling, and the marketing has just continued with it.
That's awesome. Awesome. So that marketing background, did that help you with starting your business? Do you still pull from there?
Yeah, definitely. It was a very conceptual course that I was on. So marketing, as in the word marketing, was so broad, so vast, and it's something that's always changing. So I think I learned the best kind of route advice for marketing from that course. And then as things like social media have developed, different apps and different ways to market to people, yeah, that kind of carried on. And something that my mum always taught me that's really important and still runs through the core of my business is word of mouth. Just knowing people, speaking to people, getting recommendations from people. That's the part of marketing that like comes organically, and that's probably my favorite part of it, to be honest.
I love that. I'm actually glad you mentioned that because my next question for you is centered around the getting access into the fashion industry. And I tell people all the time, even though I hate saying this, sometimes it really is who you know versus like what you know, and that tends to determine how much access to the fashion industry that you get. I don't know what it's like exactly in the UK, but in the US, especially for Black creatives, it is, you can just be very much overlooked, or you just didn't really have the access to begin with, and it's really hard to kind of gain the access to the industry. Do you think it's a similar dynamic in the UK? And, did you face any challenges coming out of school, getting into the fashion industry? Did you have to network quite a bit? What was that like?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think, so in Birmingham, it's very diverse here. There's people from all over the world here, so many religions, races, languages. So I was always quite comfortable here. And then moving to London, which is an even bigger city, like more cultures, more languages. That was like quite a big culture shock for me, in the sense where there are a lot of people there that I would never have met if I'd stayed here, which is a benefit. But what kind of shocks me was the diversity within my actual course and within my actual university. Out of a group of, I think I was a class of 30, there were 2 Black people in the class.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was kind of a bit, okay.
Right. That's less than 10%.
Yeah. And if you were to base that on the whole actual university, I mean, I don't have the figures or anything, and I graduated quite a while ago. But I was just shocked to see that after like coming from college where it was, so I think that was a challenge for me. Learning everyone else's cultures as well. There were people from all over. You had people from Egypt, China, places that I'd never met anyone from those places before. So it was really good in a way. But I feel like it was kind of a little bit leaning towards an identity thing for me, and who I am as a Black creative and what I want to bring, and will people understand? Will people,
right,
that kind of thing?
Absolutely.
One thing that I think is hard within any creative industry is, especially when it comes to education-wise, I believe that projects, courses, degrees are based on opinion and personal taste a lot, which is something that I kind of faced, where I would be doing a project, something relating to me or how I feel and myself. And I feel like when it comes to grading criteria, there might be boxes to tick, but will someone fully understand the concept of what I'm trying to say and how powerful that message might be? That was something that was very, very hard for me to kind of put across while I was at university. And I think the pressure of everything kind of got to me a little bit towards the end. And then I had to think about, okay, what's my next move? We had a lot of opportunities, met a lot of designers, had a lot of opportunities in general. But another thing that comes across when especially studying in the UK and America as well, with the fees, the finances.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I was working about 3 or 4 jobs whilst being full-time, whilst interning, and it all just was, it was a lot. It
Good
was
grief,
a
girl.
lot. Yeah.
Oh.
So then I kind of made the decision then that I know I'm good enough. I know I can do it. Let me go back to somewhere where I'm comfortable, where, you know, there's diversity around me. I'm inspired every day. And financially, it was a good decision for me. And then once I left university, I came back to Birmingham. The only thing that I struggle with in Birmingham is that the creative bubble is quite small. So especially as a Black creative, I feel like in Birmingham we're all connected in some way, which is really, really good, really, really kind of like helpful as well to have and know that there are people around you.
Right.
But I think when it comes to me collaborating or doing projects and things, everyone is based in London, and I feel like that's the only thing holding me back here. But we're managing quite well. I think I'm doing quite well considering. But yeah, university had a lot of lines of trauma attached, let's say, that made me have to consider who I was working with, what jobs I was applying for, who were the people at the top. All these questions only came to me once I'd kind of experienced university.
So like getting, you know, I know you were able to do a few internships. How did you go about getting those internships?
I kind of did it by myself almost. It was a criteria for my degree to have a set year of internship. And a lot of people around me, like you say, had connections to fashion houses already, or knew people who, you know, their interns were sorted from the start. Luckily, in a sense, I personally really enjoyed my internships. I did some great internships. I worked with a lovely lady. She's a designer called Jane Bowler, who specialises in like couture pieces, editorial pieces for shoots and stuff. I literally just emailed and applied and sent my interview, and we just really, really got on, and that was that. And I also got an opportunity. I was currently working for a fast fashion brand called New Look here in the UK, and they offered me a place in their head office. So I kind of got a good overview of sort of editorial styling, couture, and fast fashion, high street, trend based, kind of fast paced working environment. Even though they weren't kind of like the biggest internships out of like the people who were in my class, looking back now, I'm so grateful for those specific internships because of the balance that it gave me. And yeah, so it was almost a little bit like who I knew, as in working for the company, I kind of had a foot in the door. But with the other ones, it was kind of just reach out, put the feelers out, see who you get on with as well, who will kind of inspire you as well was really important for me. And yeah, I learned so much on them internships, like so much.
That's great. Yeah. I think I advise people a lot while they're in school to try to branch out of maybe, you know, maybe their one track mind of what type of internship you should get, and try to diversify it. You know, there's plenty to be learning, and you can really intern the entire time you're in college, like from your freshman year to your senior year. You can be interning, I think, you know, not even waiting until it, you know, you have to do it, but like try to do it early on if you can. That's not something that I kind of did, but I never did like a formal internship until I absolutely had to. But like, I wish I had diversified it earlier on, like you did. Because my spark for styling didn't come until after college. Like I knew I always had it, but actually in terms of pursuing it, it definitely didn't come until I left my very first job. So after college, or actually let me backtrack a little bit back to college. I know you were saying with some of your counterparts in in class, you didn't feel like you'd gotten the same types of internships that they were getting. What do you think there's a certain reason for that? What was the difference to you that you noticed?
So I think overall connections and previous experience. For instance, there were some people in my university who already had degrees or were already trained. So there were a lot of people that came from Parsons, who then came to my university to do a second degree.
Okay.
And there were a lot of people who already had those kind of big internal connections. And it was spoke about quite a bit. Where does everyone aspire to go to for their internships? Where's everyone thinking? And I think at the time, because of who I felt I was and where I'd come from, and seeing the competition, then it was almost like I'm gonna I did stay quite comfortable looking back, but I don't think it was a bad decision to do. I am really grateful for them. I learned so much. And I think for me, especially having so much going on at the time with my jobs, my other jobs, uni, the whole kind of uni experience itself, being away from home, I think I made the right decision. But looking back, again, like you said, I would advise anyone going for internships to try. Just try. I mean, this is what I've learned growing up. We all have kind of knockbacks. We all have setbacks. Like my mum always says, what's the worst they can say? No. You know, right. Like once you get over that barrier, can kind of go for it. I think when I went to uni as well, things have changed quite a bit within the industry, which I'm really happy to see. And I feel like if I'd gone back knowing everything I know now, maybe I would have kind of branched out a bit more. But I think everything happens for a reason. I mean, Absolutely. I don't regret anything. But yeah, I definitely recommend, like you said, branch as far wide as you can.
Yeah, like it can be hard to, and I think if you already feel like different types of pressure coming to you, I mean, colleges, it can be pretty tough regardless, and you're gonna feel everyone's gonna have some level of pressure. But you know, even especially being a creative of color in college and not feeling like you are what you bring to the table is appreciated, or really it's not maybe meeting what their ideal standards are, even though they aren't wrong. They just aren't meeting what they're accustomed to seeing or accustomed to grading, can make you feel like you're not very worthy of some, maybe an ideal internship, or maybe some major internship that just seems really intimidating to you. It can seem like maybe you're not worthy of that, and maybe the other students are more worthy by default, maybe, or like you said, because they went to Parsons beforehand, which, yeah, that's a big deal. If they went to Parsons, that makes you feel like, oh, okay. Excuse me. But still, I'm glad you've shared that experience though. The fashion industry, it's clear, like it is universal, this feeling of
I think we can both say that. I think we both it's
universal. It doesn't matter where you are. I know for here in the US, it's a lot of times, it feels like if you're not in New York, or maybe if you're not in LA, then it's really hard for you to get a lot of opportunity. And it depends on what you're doing and what you're trying, maybe what you're interested in. But I mean, I know most of my success came from eventually moving to New York and working there for a few years. And just when I got there, I was like, well, I'm just going to do whatever. Like whatever I can get my hands on, whoever I can talk to, all the things, like I kind of wish I had the gumption to do in college. I was 26, but I was like, I'm about to do this though. That's what we're about to do right now. I was 25 when I moved there. So I was like, yeah, I'm about to network with everybody and see what else I can. I'm going to milk New York for all that it's worth since I'm here. But wherever you are, and if you are in the UK, for instance, and you're listening to this, like even if you're in Birmingham, like, and not in London or some other city that outside of London, you can always start where you are. Like you can always be doing something right there. Speaking of which, I really want to get to the Studio Ell Richie, Tutti Frutti. That sounds super cute. I love the name. And then you have your collection. Am I right? That's that just launched this month. The Y2K. Is it Romantica?
Yeah.
Oh, these names are beautiful. First of all, how'd you come up with all these beautiful names? I just want to know.
Literally, I think because I always wanted to have a curated aspect of the business. And sometimes I just see something and a word comes into my head. So like, for instance, in the Tutti Frutti collection, there's a pair of lime green leather trousers and it was next to like an orange shirt. And it just like threw me back to like the days of having the Tutti Frutti sweets. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to make a whole collection based around these two pieces. And that's kind of what inspires the drops. It's normally a little phrase or a little word or something, and I'll build around the actual phrase. And I tend to try and keep it as seasonal as I can as well. So everything just comes together once I've got the word or the phrase. Right.
So let's talk about what all do. You style. We probably should have said this at the beginning for sure, but what all do? You style, but what else do you do? Just list it all out.
Sometimes, like when you go to like networking parties or events or something, and someone like, oh, can I have your card? And I'm like, yeah, sure. But it doesn't actually say what I am. And then people are like, well, what are you? And then I'm like, how long have you got? Like, I've been here for a while. So I do the styling. I run StudioEllRichie, which is a whole career thing in itself. So I do all my own photography, do all my own marketing, design all the marketing campaigns, film everything, model for the brand. I'm my own PA. Put that out there because the emails are crazy.
Girl, it's time for a team. I'm just going to tell you that right now, but keep going.
Oh gosh, I know. The only person who I've kind of got helping me at the minute is my mum. So she does all my kind of like washing, stain removal. I also do all the repairs, all the alterations. Yeah. And I also as well, I do custom painting for like specific customers, or if there's an event going on. That's actually in a nutshell how the whole brand started. Back, I think it was about 3 or 4 years ago, I had a whole collection of vintage denim. I was very 90s Aaliyah for a good 5 years of my life. And I accumulated all these denim jackets and I just didn't really know what to do with them. But I've always drawn. I've drew my whole life. And I actually made a jacket for my friend's son for his birthday with a portrait on. Then he took a picture of it and then everything just went crazy. I had so many requests. And then that's when the kind of time started when people were asking me where my own vintage pieces were and if I could get them a vintage denim jacket like the one in the picture. It kind of built on from there. So I do that when I have the time, which is just getting rarer and rarer and rarer. So yeah. And also I've recently been kind of tutoring small businesses, helping out with that for other people, working on their marketing and helping other people build brands around me. That's something that's really important to me, is helping the people who helped me or help the people around me. I think especially being from Birmingham and it being so small here in the creative industry, just getting out there, helping as many people as I can when it comes to stuff that I can kind of give a bit of insight into. So yeah, there's always something happening. here.
That's awesome, girl.
I definitely need a team. I literally put the feelers out there today because I was just looking at my calendar and I was like, nope, I need help. So yeah, that's coming soon, hopefully.
Good. I'm glad because I just hired on a team of interns between August and I have a few more starting on Monday, and it is a lifesaver. I mean, there's still a whole lot to do, but I mean, just having people who are just as passionate about your brand as you are, who are just want to help you and are getting the experience for themselves too. I mean, and I love it because it's an opportunity for me to create opportunity for them as well. So yeah, girl, do that. Get your team, girl. But I love the family operation with your mom and her. So these are pieces that, you go and find the vintage pieces and she cleans them. What's the process like, and how do you actually fund your business? How do you have the capital to go purchase pieces and resell them?
So it all started when I came back to, it started in London. So while I was interning and doing everything I was doing up there, despite having so many jobs, I was still barely surviving. Like, my friends have this joke that, Elle will cook you beans on toast whenever you want, because she's like beans on toast queen, because I literally lived on beans on toast for about 4 years. Don't know how I survived. So I was still really struggling, especially on a creative course, fabric, sewing machines, pattern cutting, even paper. Things like paper, I was like, I have to pay for paper. Like, when I was at college and stuff, everything was kind of given, and then you're thrown into this world where no, you have to pay for everything.
Everything. Yeah.
So when I was working, especially, this is something that kind of inspired the sustainability side around my business as well. Working in kind of like a fast fashion brand, there were so many sample sales happening every day, things being thrown away every day, things that didn't make the cut, things that were a bit wrong here, how it goes, kind of thing. And I asked if I could attend some of the sample sales, attended some of the sample sales, bought a few things, and realised that the things that were being thrown out, or the things that didn't quite make it, could be easily fixed. And with my like sewing knowledge and stuff, that's what I did. If they were going to throw it in the bin, I'll take it, you know what I mean? I'll have it. So I would fix anything that had holes in, or adjust lengths on skirts or anything like that. And then that's what I started to resell. I only used to do it like if rent was coming up and I wasn't quite making it. It was just like an extra little bit of money. And it was just a way of...
1 second. I think it froze. Just give me 1 second.
To the money bank thing. So that's actually how it started.
1 second. It froze. I want you to repeat that for just a moment.
Okay.
It froze. Go right back. You were saying the last thing you said before it froze was if you needed to make rent, you would make a little extra money. So start there again. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it's all right. So yeah, if rent was due, or phone bill was due, or there was just a bill that I wasn't going to quite make, I would fix any pieces that they were throwing out or anything like that, and resell them that way. Or also go into so many shoots and so many kind of PR events and stuff, goodie bags, things were just given to you. Like, don't get me wrong, it was great. I enjoyed that part of the job, but I didn't need these things. And this is kind of what sparked the whole consumerism side of fast fashion that I personally didn't like. Coming from somewhere where I didn't spend any money on clothes until kind of like college, uni times, everything was always hand-me-downs. The whole consumerist side of fast fashion, it was starting to get to me a little bit, and the waste that I saw in so many brands that I worked for, so many brands that I interned with. I just thought, if there's something I can do, or if there's a way I can stop that going in the bin, or like it didn't make sense to me what I was seeing. So I just used that to kind of work with the skills that I had to make a little bit of money and pay my rent, basically, in a nutshell. And then moving on from that, like currently, I didn't start out with any loans or anything. I literally started this business with about £100. Went to a car boot. We go to car boots every single weekend, but this time I was like, right, the things that I'm currently putting up are selling. Let me try and find the pieces that everyone asks me for, like the vintage jumpsuits, the denim jackets. Let me see if I can find those things, and let me see what I can do with this £100. Did it the first time and was like, bingo.
This is the thing.
Got it. Yeah. Yeah, it did really well. And it literally just grew from there. Literally from that moment, from that first kind of sourcing trip I did, it just grew and grew and grew and grew. And now I'm doing sourcing trips about twice a week now. Yeah. So you don't need a lot of money to start. I think this is something that a lot of people, I get asked a lot, and people kind of ask me for advice on getting business loans and everything. And I mean, I've been doing this for about 4 years now, and I haven't took out a loan. I think it's about using what you can do personally. It is hard. It is stressful. Like, I'm running around like a headless chicken every day. But if you have a skill, use it, kind of thing, and get other people involved, get friends involved. You know, everyone, if they're good friends, let's just say, but everyone wants to see you do well. You know, if you can help each other, collaborate, don't throw too much money in too soon. That's my number one piece of advice for anyone.
I love that you said that, because I think people tend to think when they want to start something that money is going to, you know, solve every problem that they have, when really it's kind of a manpower issue. It's really just like you don't really have enough hands to help you. And like you said, get the good friends involved, those family members, and have them, like, I've listened to so many different people who have started amazing businesses, and they always say, oh, it was my cousin and me in the garage for like a good year, you know? So we were making whatever, you know, this is a very grassroots situation. And so, like, not feeling like you have to have it all together from the start, I think is a big relief for people. So there's so much I want to unpack with you, but we have to wrap up soon. But as we wrap up, I'm trying to think of what I really want to talk about the most. I think I want to get into your brands as well. Is there anything that you really want to share with people in terms of either, you know, one, what you want them to know about your new brands you have coming out and where they can find them, of course, but also, is there any other advice that you would give maybe your younger self or to someone who's wanting to do something similar to what you do?
Yeah, I think if I was to give advice, it would be to be resourceful. I think that's the biggest part of my whole life. I think that's the biggest lesson I've ever been taught by my family. Use what you've got. It's kind of like the motto of my whole life. Use what you've got. And I always recommend that everyone learns some kind of skill, no matter what industry you're in, no matter what it is. My mum always has this analogy of when the zombies come and the world ends, what do you have to offer, kind of thing. And I always think, well, everyone needs clothes, kind of thing. That is my skill. So I think having a workable skill, no matter what industry it is very important. To be resourceful, again, work with what you've got. I mean, like, I've got a studio now after a good few years, but I did a little studio tour on my Instagram, because literally every single piece of furniture in this room has either been found, upcycled, I got for free off Gumtree, free listings. So that kind of way of working has allowed me to do this without having to get loans and stuff. And it's just about thinking outside the box a lot of the time, and using what you have. And as far as the business goes, I think the past year has been insane. Despite the pandemic, I think it's been a really, really good year for the brand. I feel like I've got a steady path now. I can see where it's going. Got a lot of exciting brand collaborations happening at the minute as well. I just finished the Ell Richie summer series. That was like an amazing opportunity. I'm so proud of that one. And I am currently working with a new app called Wearing. Any stylists out there, download this app. It's amazing. So you can basically build outfits with the app and digitize your own wardrobe. And it just, I use it for the business. I use it for myself, use it for events. But they have a pop-up at the end of this month. So my website collections will be in there. And yeah, moving forward, trying to just push the styling a little bit more, trying to get more experience myself personally, which your videos have really helped me with.
I'm so happy to hear that.
Yeah, so just keeping on pushing, keeping on climbing, and yeah, I'm just really happy, excited, and cemented in what I'm doing now. So I'm proud of my little baby. I'm proud.
Girl, I'm proud of you. It's a pleasure hearing, and really, really, truly inspiring to hear your journey, because like you said, it is that resourcefulness it's clear that's the model of your life. I mean, from the hand-me-downs to now, and running a whole business around vintage pieces and being able to curate those pieces and make them brand new. I mean, what you're doing for the sustainability movement in the fashion industry it's so needed. You don't actually see a whole lot of Black people working on that sustainability, but you don't actually hear it. Like, I think with vegan eating, sustainability, all that stuff, it usually tends to kind of get characterized along with whiteness, along with that's just what white people do, or usually are leading in those arenas, but I don't think that's always true. There's always a ton of Black people who are doing the same thing and leading in it as well. And you're one of those people. So I'm proud that you are doing all that you're doing. I mean, you're moving the fashion industry forward by what you're doing. And so, yeah, please keep pushing with this styling. I'm so glad that Bravemoode Studios videos are helpful for you.
Yeah, definitely.
Good. I'm glad. That's what it's for. I definitely didn't think when I first started the channel, I wasn't thinking it would go beyond the US for some reason. Like I knew it was YouTube, but I just didn't think about outside the US exactly. But it's nice to know that it's helpful for everyone. But yeah, like you're doing so many amazing things, and I hope everyone's inspired by your journey. I wish we could talk longer so we could really get deeper into everything that you're doing, because you're really a boss girl. You are killing it. And yeah, I'm glad you're getting a team too. Yeah, well, girl. Yes. I think sometimes we think we have to do it all the time, you know, and no one's going to be able to do it exactly how Elle's going to do it, but you kind of like letting your hands off the wheel a little bit and delegating, you're going to go even further. So just thank you for sharing your experience with us. Thank you for, being honest about your upbringing and, all that stuff. Let's just make sure everyone knows where they can find you. What's your social media and website and anything else?
So I tried to keep this as simple as I could for everyone. So literally StudioEllRichie, all one word. That's the handle for all my social media. It's also StudioEllRichie.com. And if you search on Depop StudioEllRichie, I'll be there too. So yeah, all one word, and you can find me everywhere, basically. Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Elle. You are a light and a pleasure. You're welcome. Bye. Bye.